Hello Internet and welcome back to Financial Journey. My name is Alex and on this channel we talk about all things personal finance. Although I am not a financial advisor and everything presented here is for educational and entertainment purposes only, I do hope that documenting my own financial journey will encourage others to further explore the basic tenets of personal finance while simultaneously avoiding the pitfalls I've fallen into along the way. Today, we're going to look at our monthly budget. As with all of the videos which track our net worth and spending, everything here are actual values. Budgeting is an incredibly important part of personal finance. At its core, a budget is simply a basic framework to track your spending and saving against a benchmark goal. There are tons of different variations on budgeting, including the zero-based budget that Dave Ramsey teaches, proportional budgets such as a 50-30-20 rule, the envelope system, and so many more. While I'm not going to go over all of these today, I will be coming back to explore each of these and other rules of thumb for personal finance in a future series. Ultimately, what all of these look to accomplish is instilling a plan for your income and ensuring that a proportion is set aside for investing. Truthfully, my wife and I don't really keep a budget anymore, at least not in the most traditional sense. While I do track our spending and saving, I don't hold us to specific values or even percentages on a month-to-month basis. With my income having far surpassed my wildest expectations, coupled with relatively modest spending habits from years when we were living paycheck to paycheck, I have no specific fear that we are overspending. Thus, we now work off a very basic budget, reminiscent to the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is a pay-yourself-first budgeting system which allocates 20% of your income to saving and investing, leaving the remaining 80% to be spent guilt-free on bills, vacations, and personal items. As we hadn't really started saving until our 30s, we've kicked this up a notch, and our general plan looks to save at least 30% of our income throughout the course of the year, with the remainder covering all of our bills. As we're already saving reasonably aggressively, if we have anything left over in our budget, that's just gravy, which we can spend or save as we see fit. As my income fluctuates somewhat month to month due to being paid bi-weekly and a company bonus that comes once a year in February or March, I don't really worry too much about any individual month if we're off by a few percentage points, as long as it comes together by the end of the year. However, I do still track some basic categories just to make sure we're not falling into excess lifestyle creep. With that out of the way, let's jump right in. In January, similar to most months, I received 2 paychecks and our total income was just over $13,200. With that as our starting point, let's go ahead and take a look at our spending, encapsulated in this pie chart. Unfortunately, no one really gets to keep all of their income as Uncle Sam wants a cut. And we started out right away with $3,000 going to taxes. As we live in one of the 9 states in the US that do not have a state-imposed income tax, this represents right about 22.7% of our monthly income and includes federal taxes as well as FICA taxes for Social Security and Medicare. At some point this year, you'll see this value drop by around $750 a month once we hit the Social Security taxable maximum, which this year is $142,800. Next, we have the like button. If you haven't hit that already, please go ahead and gently tap it or completely destroy it. I leave the option up to you. But thanks in advance, as it is the easiest way to help out the channel. Before my paychecks even make it to our bank account, my company withholds an additional $800 for our insurance expenses. I've also added a separate category here for our health savings account, which is also withheld. This, quite simply, is one of the greatest tax advantage accounts that exist, and we maximize that each year, contributing $475 for these 2 paychecks. Primarily, this will cover our medical deductible, as well as any other health-related expenses, although there will be some accumulation as we don't go through all of it each year. Fortunately, with the HSA, any excess rolls over to be used at any point in the future for these qualified medical expenses. Moving on, we have our largest outlay, which are our housing expenses, coming in at just shy of $3,500. Thankfully, we do not have to pay nearly this much on a monthly basis, but as this is a new year, we have new dues for our HOA in addition to our $2,200 monthly mortgage and escrow payment, lawn care, as well as utilities. Well, this month a little over 26% went to our housing expenses. Over the course of the year, this should drop down to below 20% in total. Still, before we even get to spending anything for ourselves, we have to cover our debt payments, including my wife's car and my student loans, totaling approximately $900. And finally, that just leaves the money we spend on ourselves. This month, just over $1,000 went towards food, groceries, housing supplies, and so on. This, I think, is more than we really need to spend in a month, but even at this level, it only represents less than 8% of our monthly income, so I'm not going to fight with my wife over it. And finally, fun money. Well, with the pandemic still going on, we're not really doing a whole heck of a lot, and so we spent $475 on a few miscellaneous purchases, either for us or our home in January. And that's it. The remaining wedge here are our investments, our largest overall expenditure, with $1,450 being withheld and contributed to my Roth 401k, and an additional $3,100 moved into a regular post-tax brokerage account. Altogether, we invested $4,550 in January. Now, for those of you who have been analyzing this closely, you may have noticed that our total spending for this actually exceeds our income this month by approximately $1,500. And that is wholly by design and is due to an overfunding of our investments. In January, we invested 34.5% of our income, which is higher than my 30% target that I had previously set. The reason for this increased contribution is twofold. First off, if you watched my January net worth update, you may remember that I mentioned we had excess money held in cash, which I intended to begin investing this year. And this is step one of that process. Additionally, as I mentioned, our income does fluctuate somewhat month to month, and with the expectation of receiving a sizable bonus next month, any current shortfall will be more than made up for. So there you have it. January down and not a whole lot going on outside of our regular bills. I plan to put out one of these each month as I continue to monitor for warning signs of lifestyle creep and excessive spending. In future videos, I will briefly look at where we stand in total for the year, particularly when it comes to our investment goals, as falling short of these would indicate that further evaluation of our spending would be warranted. If you enjoyed this video and its transparency, please give this video a like and consider becoming a subscriber to follow along as we take the next step in our financial journey. I'll see you in the next one.